All right, 132, folks. Let's talk about the rest of Unit 6. Let's talk about Chapter 27. There's a couple of things going on you want to realize. Um, there's a presidential shift. We're going to go ahead and shift from Eisenhower to Kennedy. And that's huge because Kennedy is walking into something he doesn't know about. What he doesn't know about is that we have intervened in Cuba. That Cuba is going to have a rebellion, and folks, we're actually behind the rebellion that happens there. We're not happy with the people in charge, and so we're going to help to go ahead and overthrow them. Again, that's Ike using his hidden hand presidency. It's using the CIA and instituting a rebellion and putting on somebody who will feel is going to be friendly with us, and that friendly person is going to be Castro. Whoops. Obviously, we didn't do our homework because Castro is not particularly friendly, but he's going to be put on the, well, throne. And so what that's going to do is leave a problem for Kennedy when he's coming in. But that's okay because one of the things that's happening is that Eisenhower's already set up a contingency plan. The contingency plan is the CIA is recruiting former Cubans who are unhappy with Castro, and they're going to arrange an invasion and arrange another overthrow, and it's going to be what they call the Bay of Pigs invasion. And Kennedy's not going to be aware of this, but it's going to be one of the first things that he walks into as president is this Bay of Pigs. What you have to know about Kennedy is we're going to see the introduction of something new. Kennedy will run for presidency against a guy named Richard M. Nixon. Richard M. Nixon, he's going to get the name Tricky Dick here a little bit later on, but he's going to run against him. And the thing is, it's going to be the first televised presidential debates. I would say, hey, listen, if I were you, I would go ahead and Google first presidential debates between Nixon and Kennedy, because what you look at is you look at why debates are so important. You look at this whole introduction of what's happening, because in the televised presidential debate, what you see is you see Kennedy. Folks, Kennedy comes from an incredibly wealthy family. Kennedy was raised and groomed to be president. And so when he is up there discussing, when he is up there answering questions, what he's doing is he is cool, calm, and collective. Cool, calm, and collective in such a way that he looks presidential. Okay? He's got a nice tan. He's relatively young. He's relatively attractive. He's relatively well spoken. And he answers things in a very presidential manner. When the camera shifts over here to Nixon, Nixon he commits a fatal flaw. He perspires. He perspires on camera. He looks cold. He looks clammy. He looks ill at ease. He has a tendency to sometimes stammer just a little bit. He's not a bad guy, but he comes off looking like a used car salesman. And here's the thing. This makes the presidential election. And so there's a huge effect with this televised debates. Well, Kennedy is going to be elected. He's going to walk in. He's going to be presidential. He's well known for his introduction of the Peace Corps, because he's going to realize there's a problem. Hey, we have a whole lot of college-educated folks. We have a whole lot of young people. We have a whole lot of people who are developing an altruistic attitude about helping everybody else. And they're making an awful lot of trouble, and we should find something for them to do. So the introduction of the Peace Corps is part of his presidential idea of not ask what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country. And he's going to ship these troublemaking college students off to a variety of places throughout the world to help them to give back. It will be shortly after he begins this that this Bay of Pigs invasion that he finds out about is going to blow up in his face. We have promised to help them. We promised to help them with air support. We are going to outfit them. We're going to train them. We're going to do a second-class job. And what will happen at the last minute is we will decide not to support the Cuban rebels. And they're going to lose. They're going to lose horribly, because it turns out that Castro and the actual Cubans are just waiting for them. We end up with egg on our face, and this is huge. We end up with egg on our face, and it's going to have some further repercussions, because what will happen is this is going to force Cuba and Castro. Castro is communist. He's going to turn to the communist big brother of all communist big brothers. He's going to turn to the USSR and say, hey, can you help us out? Can you make a deal? And what this will trigger is that thanks to some extra secret planes, the U-2 spy planes, not the U-2 band, but the U-2 spy planes, and some flyovers that we can do at high altitude, at high speed, with high quality optics, we are going to discover that, yes, USSR and Cuba are making friends. As a matter of fact, that Russia is supplying missiles to Cuba, that they are building military bases in Cuba, that they are reaching out in such a way that turns out that they're building missile emplacements in Cuba, which is no more than about 80 miles off the coast, that are going to put them within striking distance. And this is huge because we're looking at the nuclear missile race. So the Cold War has just gotten hot. This is going to give Kennedy one of the biggest, if not the biggest moment of his Cold War career. This is going to end up with the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's going to end up with Kennedy saying, hey, listen, we're going to quarantine Cuba. He can't put a blockade into place, but he can say they're quarantined. What's going to happen is he's going to quarantine them. He's going to draw a line in the sand. Yeah, I know it's the middle of the ocean, but he's going to draw a line in the sand and say, listen, Russia, if any of your ships supplying missiles cross this line, well, then we're going to war. That we're going to blow them out of the water. This is as close as we get to a World War III at this particular point, folks. There's going to be several days where we're waiting to see whether they're going to cross the line, and we're going to wait and see who blinks first. At this point, Stalin has died, and Khrushchev is in power. And Khrushchev is going to blink first. He's going to blink first, and he's going to say, okay, well, tell you what we're going to do. What we don't talk a whole bunch about is prior to the Russians putting missiles in Cuba, we put missiles in Turkey. We put missiles in a couple other places on the Russian border, and what we're going to do with the Russian missiles appearing here is we're going to offer to take ours out of Turkey. So it's not the Russians blinking so much as it is us blinking simultaneously. We're going to go ahead and offer to take our missiles out if they will take their missiles out, and we will promise never to intervene in Cuban issues again. Although we're not going to hold up on that. What this is going to do is a couple of things. It's going to make Kennedy look very strong. All right, he was a young president. This makes him look strong. It gives him good street cred. It's going to cost Khrushchev. Khrushchev is going to go on vacation and never come back. He's going to be replaced while he's on vacation. What this does is it makes Kennedy a strong president. Also, it makes him an enemy of Cuba. It's not going to be really too long after this that Lee Harvey Oswald is going to assassinate Kennedy. Yeah, there's a lot of discussions about the Kennedy assassination. I know there's a lot of theories about it. There's some theories about the magic bullet. If you don't know what the magic bullet is, I suggest you go see and talk about that online. Whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald made this magnificent set of shots from this long distance away or not, it's iffy. But what we do know is that Kennedy is going to be assassinated and then Johnson will take over. Now my time is almost up on this, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at Johnson taking over, because things are really going to change drastically when Johnson steps into office, because we start to look at Johnson and his war against poverty. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, and then I'll do one more video about the rest of Chapter 7, about Johnson and his whole war on poverty, and we'll go from there. Thank you.